everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to another YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we are here for another AFL 2022 3-game match reviews. Yes, another 3-game match reviews, 3 more massive games right here. 3 massive games, and a few going to be meaning some for the top 8 and top 4. Some really big games, as I just said. St Kilda vs Brisbane at Marvel Stadium Friday night. Western Bulldogs versus GWS first game on Saturday. And then Adelaide Crows versus North Melbourne the second game on Saturday. 3 massive games. And let's go ahead, hop right into things. First game, St Kilda vs Brisbane on the Friday night. And definitely was a really exciting close game. We learnt more about these teams as we always do. Alright, so a very interesting game on Friday night for sure to open up round 22 of the 2022 AFL season. St Kilda playing Brisbane, at Marvel Stadium in what was going to be a very big finals matchup. Whether we were going to be seeing the Saints make finals or not, probably did end up coming down to this game. And St Kilda will not be making finals this year, regardless, because their percentage is, I think it's under 100 now. And yeah, they won't be able to make up enough next week against Sydney. So they are out of the finals race now, St Kilda. And they did end up losing the game anyway. 9-12-66 St Kilda, Brisbane 12-9-81. And St Kilda had their chances to win the game, you can almost say. They kicked 5 behinds in the last quarter, and all they had to do was just convert a couple of them, and they really could have won the game. And Brisbane owned the game for most of it. They were good in the first and second quarter, and then in the third quarter was all Saints. The Lions kicked a goal, and the Saints got on their bikes, but 4 goals 2 to half time. They finished with 9 goals 12. They kicked 5 goals 10 in the second half, did St Kilda. And you can pretty much tell that's where the game was lost for them. That's where they lost the game. Right there was in the second half where they kicked 5 goals 10. And Brisbane, they kicked 5 goals 3. So even though St Kilda did have the better second half, but they were down by over 20 at half time, that just making 5 goals 10 really should have been more accurate than that. And really should have been a chance to win the game, a better chance than what they ended up being. But Brisbane, as they have this year, they've been able to hold off opponents, and they did well enough. They actually had a decent last quarter, kicked 4 goals to naught, and managed to seal the deal there. But it was a cracking Friday night contest for sure. Ross, 32 disposals for St Kilda. Mason Wood, 4 goals for St Kilda. He did not look out of place at all. I think Rayner was the other one that got 4 goals as well. Yep. Rowan Marshall, 118 fantasy, 8 tackles for Brad Crouch. And Brad Crouch could be in some hot water as well over his hit on Darcy Gardner. 118 fantasy for Marshall, 109 for Ross, 108 for Crouch. Goals behinds now we go. 4 for Wood and Rayner, 3 for Membry, 2 for Danaher, Higgins and Hipwood. Now the disposals, 32 for Ross, by far the most by anyone else on the ground. 26 for Rich, 25 for Crouch, Sinclair. Now to the marks, 11 for Wilkie and Ainsworth, 7 for Windhager and Wanganeen Miller. Tackles, 8 for Crouch, 7 for Patton, Still and Lyons. Now the hit-outs, 42 for Marshall, 36 for McInerney, 6 for McStay, 3 for Owens, 2 for Lenert, Hipwood and King. And now we are going to be going to the team stats, where it was a pretty interesting battle around the footy. 50 to 49 entries. St Kilda actually went inside 50 more times than Brisbane, but Brisbane are classy. They are a very good side. They won the centre clearances plus 40, Brisbane. St Kilda won the marks. Lions plus 8 in contested marks. Brisbane led for most of the game. In the end, definitely deserving winners. They are the better of the two sides. And St Kilda this year will not be making finals anymore. And Brisbane, their hope for the top 4 continues to grow, I guess. So now back to Marvel Stadium we go for the second game at Marvel Stadium this round. That's already 2 games now. At Marvel Stadium. First 2 games around 22 at Marvel Stadium. And it was a ripper. It was an absolute belter. The unlikely thriller of the round is right here in front of our eyes at Marvel. The Western Bulldogs 9-8-62 hold off the Giants 8-9-57. They win by 5. Their finals aspirations stay alive to the Western Bulldogs, all depending on Carlton's results versus Melbourne. But boy, they were challenged by the Giants, and the Giants 2 weeks in a row now that they've actually been playing good footy, and this was against a good opponent. So they were good, the Giants. They played well. In the end, they kept it tight. They played close. In the end, though, the first quarter, 3-1. Disappointing by the Giants, 18-7 at quarter time. It was low scoring game as well. In the second quarter is where the Giants came back. They kicked 2-1. Really low scoring game though. A combined 7 goals at half time. That'd be a combined score of 25 and 21. So 46 combined at half time. And then the third quarter is where things started to get interesting. That's where the Giants kicked 5 goals, the Dogs kicked 4. That was the most high-scoring quarter. And, yeah, the last quarter was a really low-scoring game in the last quarter. But the third quarter is what keeping our eyes on. The Giants ended up kicking the first 2 goals of the quarter. The Dogs responded with the next 4 goals to take the margin out towards 20 points. Then the Giants kicked 3 back to lead at 3-quarter time. In the last quarter, the Giants lead for half. The Dogs kick a goal, and then they lead for the next. So, oh boy, it was a big game of footy, and one that the Giants would have really wanted to have won. But despite losing, their effort was still there. They put it in, and they competed really well. 35 disposals for Kelly, 2 goals for Riccardi, 142 fantasy for Kelly, 14 tackles for Harry Perryman. Wow. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players based on fantasy with GWS. 142 fantasy for Kelly, 132 for Perryman, 123 for Haynes, 121 for Canelio, 121 for Whitfield, 120 for Himmelberg, 120 for Ward. And these are all some of their experienced players now. That is really good. Those are some really good numbers by the Giants. And then Kelly, 35 disposals, 23 for Perryman, 25 for Haynes, 31 for Canelio, 29 for Whitfield, 30 for Himmelberg, 29 for Ward. They were getting the ball. 12 marks for Kelly, 15 for Haynes, 13 for Whitfield, 12 for Himmelberg, getting marks, 14 tackles for Perryman, 4 for Canelio. They were laying pressure as well. And then their disposal efficiency, 83 for Kelly, 91 for Perryman, 76 for Haynes, 81 for Canelio, 83 for Whitfield, 80 for Himmelberg, 76 for Ward. Those are some really good numbers. Back to the fantasy though, 104 for Dale, 101 for Daniel and Dunkley, 100 for Cumming. Lots of players over the fantasy score of 100. 2 goals for Riccardi, Williams and Hogan. Everybody else with the 1 goal. Disposal-wise, now 35 for Kelly, as I touched on. 31 for McRae and Canelio. 30 for Himmelberg. 29 for Daniel Whitfield. Ward and Green. 26 for Bontempelli, Dunkley, Dale, Smith, Hopper. Lots of players on 26. Now to the marks. 15 for Haynes, 13 for Whitfield, 12 for Himmelberg, 12 for Kelly, 11 for Hogan, 9 for Kennedy and Cumming. Lots of marks for Giants, and the list goes on. 8 for Brown and Riccardi. Brown, Canelio and Riccardi. The list just went on. 14 tackles for Perryman, by far the most by anybody else on the ground. The next was 6 for Dunkley, 5 for Bontempelli and Green. Hit-outs now, 25 for English, 10 for Briggs, 9 for Keefe, 8 for Martin, 2 for Hogan and Himmelberg. Now to the team stats we go, where the Giants went inside 50 more times than the Dogs, 48 to 51. They had a lot more of the footy than the Doggies as well, opting to go by kick 69 more times than the Dogs. The Doggies won the hit-outs. The clearances were logged at 32. The Giants better around centre. The Dogs better around stoppage. The Giants had way more uncontested footy. And way more marks. Have a look at that. 91 to 165. The Giants took 165 marks for the game. Unbelievable stuff there. 165 for the game. That is ridiculously crazy. I don't even think I've seen a number like that before. That is crazy. 165 marks. Wow, I wonder where they were. 11 contested marks for the Giants as well. The Doggies did lead for most of the game, but this was a real ripping game. Really could have gone either way. The Doggies, though, their finals hopes are still alive. Now to the Adelaide Oval, where Adelaide comfortably beat North Melbourne by 29 points, 15-13, 103. North Melbourne 10-14, 74. But they had to do it the hard way. They were getting destroyed by North Melbourne in the second and third quarters. But although they did manage to bring it back in the end, North Melbourne, their spree started at the end of the first quarter, and Adelaide inaccurate in the first quarter, 4 goals, 7-3 goals, 3. Adelaide led 31-8 with a few minutes to go, and then North Melbourne get back to 31-21 at quarter time. And then the spree starts in the second quarter. They kick 5 goals, 6. Lucky, for the Crows, they were lucky to be down by a couple of kicks at half time, because they could have been down by about 4 goals. In the third quarter, North Melbourne don't really do a lot, and it is locked at three-quarter time. The Crows come back, and then in the last quarter, the Crows kick 5 goals, 3 to North's 0 goals, 4. So they end up getting the job done in the end. North Melbourne, horrid day for them. They ended up with a 0-player bench. They couldn't even interchange. It was, crazy for them. They ended up losing a lot of players. Cunnington, his inspirational return, however, really good for Ben Cunnington and North Melbourne, and almost gave him an extra spark for this one. 37 disposals for Davies Uniacke, 4 goals for Fogarty. Such a brilliant play. 129 fantasy for Dawson. And of course, the tackling machine as we know him. 11 tackles for Sam Berry. AFL Fantasy, 129 for Dawson, Davies Uniacke, 113 for Hall, 111 for Simpkin, 92 for Laird, goals behinds, 4 goals for Fogarty, 3 for Walker, 2 goals, 4 for Zerha. He had a poor day in front of the sticks. 2 goals for Rowe, Curtis, McAdam and Zeeble. But the Adelaide Crows, the one thing that they did manage to do really well was they did manage to stop Nick Larkey. 1 goal, 0 for the day, which was really impressive if you look at an Adelaide point of view. 37 disposals for Davies Uniacke, 33 for Dawson, 30 for Simpkin, 28 for Hall, 25 for Laird, 22 for Saligo. Marks, 9 for Dawson, 8 for Mackay, 7 for Fogarty, Walker, Young. Tackles, 11 for Berry, 7 for Simpkin, 6 for McAdam, 5 for Laird, Schonberg. Hitouts now, 34 O'Brien, 24 for Goldstein, 11 for Coleman Jones, 3 for Thilthorpe, 1 for Walker. And have a look, Goldstein 24 hitouts. He was actually getting a few clearances of his own as well. And North Melbourne go inside 50 more times than the Crows, 52-59. But they had it at a stage in the second quarter where it was 19-37. In fact, 19-39, I think it got to in the end. The Roos were plus 20. So they gave up a handy buffer. They were also up in clearances by a fair bit as well. They still ended up finishing in clearances on top, but Adelaide gained a lot more ground back in the final quarter, which is where they destroyed North Melbourne. North Melbourne had pretty much just given up a 0-man bench, which would have made things tough in the last quarter as well. But yeah, North win the clearances. Big point though, plus 12 in centre clearances. That is helpful. Their midfield with Ben Cunnington around makes things a lot better. The Crows won the stoppage clearances, however. Now, marks inside 50, 19-9. Both teams had a few easy pickings sometimes, but it was definitely Adelaide, especially in that last quarter when they piled on the scores, getting to go inside 50. A lot easier. They led for most of the game. In the end, were deserving winners. They were tested by North Melbourne, however, but in the end, they do end up getting the job done by a pretty comfortable margin. So now to Metricon Stadium, where Geelong are smashing the Suns. Gold Coast 3-2-20. Geelong 10-3-63. The Suns, they're having all the pain piled on them right now. It's a poor day for them so far, and you'll be thinking it'll be really tough from here for the Suns to come back. They're down by 43. I would say it's pretty much close to impossible. The impossible can happen, but oh boy, the Cats, they're such a good unit, and that they definitely, well, there's a goal for the Suns, but they definitely do deserve to have a big lead like this. 37 points it is right now. But yeah, oh boy, they are doing some real damage. 14-32 inside 50s. That's where the game is really being won and lost. I'm not really going to have to go through everything, but here's just some stats for the game so far. But yeah, really good game so far by the Cats. Full review of this game will be in tomorrow's 3-game match review, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to see that, and hit the notification bell so you guys will be notified straight away when this video goes out, and you can watch the full review on this game and the others. So the other games featured in the first match review tomorrow will be Melbourne versus Carlton at the MCG and Fremantle versus West Coast. There's 3 massive games will be reviewed in the next 3-game match review. So as I said, make sure to subscribe turn on notifications so then you will know straight away when the video goes out. And then also, still to come is Richmond versus Hawthorn, Sydney versus Collingwood, and Essendon versus Port Adelaide. I'll tell you, big Sunday of footy. You do not want to miss that. But another crucial game, Melbourne versus Carlton. Look, all these games coming up are really crucial. This one, Essendon versus Port Adelaide, doesn't really have much effect. Meanwhile, the rest of them do. Every single game until the last has a big effect on what it'll be looking like. The ladder. So now the current ladder, the Cats. Well, we'll actually just chuck it on a live ladder. That's an advantage for the Cats now. 68 points. Yes, Melbourne still will play, and yes, Collingwood will still play. But oh boy, that is an advantage. And if Collingwood and Melbourne both lose, yeah, the Cats are minor premiers. Yeah, especially if Collingwood and Melbourne both lose, they'll definitely be minor premiers. But either way, they'll still be minor premiers, Cats. Don't see them going down the West Coast, so they will finish minor premiers. The Lions sit in second on 60 points. However, the Pies and the Demons still do have a game in hand and can go up into second and third. Now, hang on, that's the Demons on 56, actually. So, yes, even though the Demons still do have a game in hand, they would still jump skip the Lions anyway. The Swans are in 5th on 56 points as well, so a lot will be interesting. Their game versus Collingwood is a big game. Fremantle versus West Coast will be critical, and the Dockers, of course, 2 points, half the game away from Sydney and Melbourne. Carlton sit in 7th on 48 points, not inked in just yet. However, percentage could really become a big issue as well for the Western Bulldogs, who have just chucked a fair bit out the window today, winning against the Giants. But they did lose a bit of a chunk of percentage, so it could come down to percentage. The Blues cannot be affording to lose too much of that. The Hawks will be playing the Doggies. The Blues will be meeting with Collingwood next round. And the Suns sit in 11th, losing percentage right now as they are having a horror show up at Magicon Stadium. Alright, thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, so then you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. So bye everyone, Flaming Footy out.